This video will go over creating the most complex hanger kits in the vList Parts Manager, trapezes. Here you can see an example of a pipe span trapeze. Note that this example is 512 by 512 pixels, the ideal size for vList. To add this in, you'll need to go to the vList Parts Manager first. In the Parts Manager, you want to first expand the hanger kits category, then expand the trapeze subcategory. You can also make a new subcategory if needed. To make a new subcategory, left-click on the hanger kit category to select it, then right-click on the hanger kit category to bring up the menu. Select Add Subcategory, and then name this new subcategory. Make sure at this time that the subcategory type is hangers. Now you can create the new trapeze component. Right-click on the new subcategory and then select Add Component. You'll be prompted to name the component at this point, but you can change the name at any time. Once created, you'll start off in the Details tab. This is where you can rename the hanger kit if needed and link the kit to the appropriate hanger kit image. Make sure your hanger kit image is ready to use in your vList folder. If you need to check that the image is there or if you need to add it, first open up your vList folder, then open the Data folder, then open the Images folder, and then the Hangers folder. For this example, I will be using the trapezeexample.png image that is already in this folder. It is the same image shown at the beginning of this video. Now, we will begin adding in the individual parts and components to the kit for the new trapeze. To add parts and components to a kit, move from the Details tab to the Hanger tab. Going back to the example trapeze image here, we'll add in the ring at the bottom of the trapeze assembly first. To add in any part, click on the Add Part button, then select the correct subcategory and component. For this example, we'll choose the Hanger Ring subcategory, then the Hanger Rings Galv component. Note that I will not choose a specific part here. Since the ring in this kit can be one of several sizes, we will add the component itself, and then we'll put a D1 in the diameter column. Moving up from the bottom ring to the top structural attachment, we'll need to add in the rest of the parts and components needed for the trapeze assembly. Note that for this specific trapeze, there are 3 different diameters to worry about and 4 different lengths to take into consideration, making this type of trapeze the most complicated hanger kit that can be added to vList currently. This means that you may need to reference the parts category for the correct diameter relationships as you are creating the kit. We'll take a look at how the diameters relate to each other after adding all of these specific components to the kit. Moving up through the kit from the bottom ring, we'll add in the remaining components in order. First up is the bottom ATR that connects the bottom ring to the ring on the trapeze span. Click on the Add Part button, change the subcategory from hanger rings to all thread rods, and in this example I will use the 10-foot ATR component. Next, we will add in the trapeze span pipe. For this, click on the Add Pipe button, and in this example, I will use Domestic Schedule 40 21 foot. Next, we need to add in the left and right supporting ATRs. Since these are 2 different lengths, they need to be two different rows in the kit itself. For this, we are going to use the same component for the ATR that we already used. Click on the green plus button, and it will duplicate this row twice over. Next, we will add in the top beam clamps that go on these two supporting ATR links. Click on the Add Part button, change the subcategory to Beam Clamps, and for this, we will use the Beam Clamp component. Since there are two of these clamps, we need to change this quantity here to 2. Next, we will add in the nuts and washers that go on this left supporting ATR. For this, click on the Add Part button again. Subcategory we'll choose as nuts, and the component we will choose is the full EG hex nut. Again, there are going to be 2 of these, so we need to change this quantity to 2. Now we can add in the washers that also go along with these nuts. Again, click on Add Part, subcategory is washers, and in this example, I'm going to use the round washers component. Again, there are going to be 2 of these, so we will change this quantity to 2. Next, we need to add in the drill holes that will go in the trapeze span pipe for this ATR to go through. For this, we'll actually choose the Add Fitting option. Category will be Weld, subcategory is Drill Holes, and component is Holes. Again, there are 2 of these, so we'll again change this quantity to 2. Finally, we need to add the rings that go on the trapeze span itself. For this, we'll click on Add Part, change the subcategory back to hanger rings, but instead of using the hanger ring scalp component again, we'll actually use this trapeze ring component. Again, there are 2 of these, so we are going to change this quantity to 2. Now that we have all of the components of the trapeze added to the vList hanger kit, we can now move through the next columns to add in the appropriate information. Our first column to add values to is the diameter column. We have already defined the diameter of the first hanger ring row as D1, which will be the user-entered ring size. All other component diameters will be dependent on this initial size and will autofill in vList based on relationships defined here. Let's first go look at the hanger ring galv component. Open the Parts category, then the hanger ring subcategory, and then click on the hanger ring galv component. You can see here in this component that there are sizes under all 4 diameter columns: D1, D2, D3, and D4. D1 here is the hanger ring size associated with the specific part in the component. D2 is the ATR diameter required for that hanger ring. D3 is the trapeze span pipe diameter associated with the hanger ring size, which is also the same size as the rings that will be on the trapeze pipe span. D4 is the drill hole size required for the given ATR diameter for the hanger ring. These values are all predefined for you in vList, but you can copy the component and make edits to your own as needed if you require different sizes associated for each of these hanger rings. Going back to the trapeze, we can now set the diameters for the components in the kit based on the relationships between D1, D2, D3, and D4 in the hanger ring component. For any parts that will require the D2 size from the hanger ring component, we will put equals D1.D2 as the diameter. This will tell vList that the size of this component needs to match the D2 value of the given D1 hanger ring size. We can copy this formula into each row that will share the diameter of the ATR. That will be all 3 ATR rows, the beam clamps, the hex nuts, and the washers. In a similar fashion, we will put equals D1.D3 for both the pipe span and for the trapeze rings. Finally, we will put equals D1.D4 in for the hole's diameter. Now we can move on to the next column, that of the lengths. For this column, we only need to worry about the components that require a length. What is entered here will also depend on if the lengths will be consistent each time the kit is used, or if they will be user-entered. In our specific example here, the only lengths that are not defined in the assembly image are the trapeze span length and the length of the ATR going from the span to the system piping. Lengths that require manual entry in vList are entered with variables. We'll use L1 for the length of the ATR between the system ring and the trapeze span. Then we will use a T for the actual trapeze span length. Since the assembly image specifies that the ATR with the top beam clamps is consistently 8 inches on the left and 4.5 inches on the right, we can simply enter these lengths in the length column for the supporting ATR rows. However, if these supporting ATR lengths were variable depending on the system, you would instead use TR1 as the length value of the left supporting ATR and TR2 for the right-hand supporting ATR. You can see an example of this if we go into the previously made pipe span trapeze kit, where we have L1, TR1, TR2, and a T. The final two columns here are the Hanger 1 takeout and Hanger 2 takeout columns. As gone over in a previous video, vList How To, create a new hanger kit, these two columns are primarily used for designs created in Revit or for importing an HLF where the hangers are in CC dimensions. Since our example has the cut lengths of the supporting two ATR predefined, there is no need to define a takeout amount for these two rows. We also don't need to worry about a takeout for the trapeze span pipe. What we do need to be concerned with is the takeouts for the ATR connecting the bottom system ring to the trapeze span. In this case, the takeout will be determined by the bottom ring's specifications. Therefore, we just need to put a D1 in the component row for the bottom ATR in the takeout columns. The takeout values are pre-specified based on Viking supplied hanger rings technical data sheets. If you will be using different hanger rings, you will need to create your own component and fill in the correct takeout amounts you will need. Another simpler option to create a new trapeze is to duplicate a kit that is already in vList, then make any necessary edits to the diameters, lengths, components, and quantities to what you will need. For this specific example, what we can do is actually duplicate the pipe span trapeze sloped kit. To duplicate a component, first left-click on the kit you would like to duplicate to select it, right-click to bring up the menu, and then select Duplicate Component. Name your new component appropriately, and then make sure to add the name of the kit image in the default image box. All that will need to be edited here are the lengths for the second and third ATR lengths. You can see in the original kit for the pipe span trapeze sloped, these two ATR rows are defined as TR1 and TR2. Again, since our kit has these predefined as 8 inches and 4.5 inches, we will change the TR1 to 8 inches, and then we will change the TR2 to 4.5 inches. And that's all there is to it. Now that we have all of the relevant columns filled in for each component row, we can test how this new trapeze kit will work in vList. Go to the Hanger tab, and then click on the drop-down to choose the relevant kit subcategory. You can see here that when I go to either the Example Kits subcategory or the 18 Trapeze subcategory, the new kits are already displayed. You can also see that when a size is chosen for the size diameter drop-down, all the other diameters are automatically filled in. Since these fields were defined previously using the formulas in the kit, and we defined the two ATR pieces in the middle as specific lengths, they are grayed out and uneditable in the vList UI. With that, you should have a basic understanding of how to create a new trapeze kit in vList.